Hello explorers and welcome to another video. Today we are going to talk about Java 25. And let's switch over to my screen here. So this release I have been calling Condensed Speed because this is a release that is very focused on performance. We want to have as fast execution as possible, as fast startup as possible with a feature-rich Java implementation. So this is the focus of this release. It's in the ramp down phase now and it's scheduled for release on 2025-09-16. So it's a bit off, but it's very exciting because there is a bunch of good things in this release. So first off, we have the JEP 470, which is the PEM encoding encryption objects preview. And this is a way of handling these encryptional objects that we are using in security. You have probably seen them, these kind of public keys, secret keys, and so on. There is a bunch of different applications that can, or modules that can read this kind of things, but there isn't something built into Java that can read and handle these files. So now we have an API for that. Next up, we have JEP 502, which is stable values. And this is a little bit odd one because it's a way of having something that you don't want to use at the moment. It's something that you want to be initialized later, but you still want it to be final. So in the old way of doing this, you had a logger, for instance, and if you wanted to create a logger when you actually needed it. So when you get a logger, you check if it's still null, and then you create it and return. And in this case, when they are trying to fold different functions into each other and so on and make it even more performant, they can't do that because these aren't final, so they don't really know when they are available or when they are created. So it's a lot harder problem to solve. And currently they have added this stable value. So you can have a final value and this is a stable value of, and whenever you use it, you will create a logger and put it into this stable value. Currently, it doesn't have any performance benefits whatsoever. It's just a more complicated way of writing this. But in the future, they think that they might be able to use this signal in order to create more stable and performant code. So it's a way, something that they want to try out and something that they want you to use because in the future they might create some benefit from this. Next up we have the JEP 503, very simple. In Java 24 we said that 32-bit Java is on the way out and they deprecated it back then. Now they will not build a port of 32-bit Java. So that is something that is removed, and it will remove a lot of different complexities in the Java implementation as well, which is a great thing. So this is just good to remove old code. And next up we have JEP 505. This is structured concurrency, the fifth preview. We have talked about this many times. It's pretty much when you have two different subtasks that you will run separately in perhaps different threads, and then you want to join them back so you can report back with a single response. And they have been working with this over and over and trying to find a way to represent this in a good way so it is readable and so on. And they are still working on it. This is the fifth one. Next up, we have scoped values. These will now be ratified and be a part of this release. They have had a lot of previews coming to this point, and now you can actually use scoped values. And this is a way of creating a context in a larger way. So you can create a scoped value, and during the thread execution you have that scoped value available for you. So for instance, if you're running a web server and you have one user logging in, then you can set some scoped values for that particular request. It's only available in that context of that request, and then it's destroyed and is not part of the application anymore. So it's not a thread-specific value, it's more of a request-specific value. So this they have worked on a lot, but now it's actually in the Java application, Java release. Next up, we have this primitive types in patterns, instance of, and switch, the third preview. I'm really looking forward to when it's actually a part of the Java application. They are still working on it, but it's when you want to use these kind of primitive types. You could have case 0, 1, and 2, but you can also say that these are integers or of this particular class, or it will be this particular class with these instant values and so on. So there is a bunch of things to keep track on here and figure out how to do this in a good way, of course. But it's going to be very exciting when this is written and done, because then you can do very cool things with instance of and then assign the value in that instance of. So you will reduce the code and make it more readable. So I really like this one. It's sad that it has gone so many iterations, but I understand that it's a hard, complex thing to get right. So continue working on it. Next up, we have JEP 508. Extremely important for the Java application or the Java language. So if we want to do machine learning and so on, we really need a way of accessing native memory in a good way. And this vector API is something that they have worked now on for 10 different iterations. They're still not done, but it's coming in a future release. Next up, we have JEP 509. This is JFR CPU profiling, an experimental thing. JFR is this flight recorder for Java that is profiling or checking at memory and so on. So now you can actually, on the command line, get out the many times a particular function has been called and how much time you spent in that function. And adding more of these kind of applications and these kind of features into the Java language will make other profilers good as well. I'm using a different profiler, but I will look into this one as well, because it's really nice to have a built-in profiler, and maybe it's better, so I don't need to use that proprietary one. But there is a bunch of these kind of good additions to the Java flight recorder in this release. Next up, we have JEP 510, the key derivation function API. So this is for native keys in the Java application. And currently we have a bunch of different libraries to handle different key materials, but these are keys for more complex use cases, like when you have quant computers and so on, you need these more complex models. But they have now added this, so you can get an instance of this particular key algorithm and then create a key with a salt and some additional key material. So it's a simplified way of using these kind of keys in the Java application. Next up, we have 511. And this is the module import declarations. I think that I have talked about this earlier, but now it's a part of the Java application. So it's these cases where you import a full module, so you have all the different classes of that module. I don't know which modules have the different classes. I haven't learned about that. It's not something that you really need to think about, because your editor or probably your Java editor will help you with that. But in the case of you adding a module, you can have these kind of ambiguity of the classes. So in case of date, for instance, you can say that I want the SQL date when I work down here. So it's a good addition. Makes a little bit less code but it makes it a little bit less readable for me, as I'm used to these Java packages and so on. So these modules will hide a bunch of implementation details for me. So it's not something that I really need, but it's good that they have done a retake on this one. Next up we have JEP 512. So this is compact source files and instant main methods. So this is something that I don't understand at all, but now you can create a very small Java application, and I would say you can create it even smaller if you want. So they suggest that you can write a main method where you have IO print hello world, for instance. So that would be everything you need to do in order to create a hello world program. My suggestion is just to have the string, and anything that is returned you just print. That could be a suggestion to make it even smaller if you want to make it more obtuse and less readable. But some people need this, I guess, so now you have it. Next up is JEP 513, the flexible constructor bodies. So this is something that has been a problem in Java for a long time. When you have constructors, you need to call super as the first thing in your constructor. You can't type anything before the super. So if you have a class and then you extend that class, you need to call the constructor of that class first. But there is cases where you want to do some checking or some extra functions, like in this case when you have this employee that extends person, and you want to check that the employee is in a particular age range, and if not, throw an exception before you actually create this person. So this could be one use case. It's a very simplified one, of course, but I have been at this for a while and have had cases where I needed to implement this. So this will be an improvement. Next up, we have JEP 514, ahead of time command line ergonomics. And when I read about the ahead of time in Java 24, I thought that was really exciting and I wanted to try it out. I'm not sure if I ever did, but it would be really cool to see what some of our really slow running Java applications, if we can speed them up just by doing this ahead of time compilation. So what you do is that you create a set of information. So you record a session of when you're actually running the program, and then you will create the actual data of that run. So you can create an ahead of time file. And when you have that ahead of time file, you can use that cache in order to run your application faster for every iteration after that. So that was a really cool way of getting a really fast startup of your application. And of course, we want quick Java applications. So they have done this a little bit easier. So now you only have to say, okay, I want this output file. Then you run the application. It does both of those two steps, but it doesn't really need any extra. So you just run the application once, record that data, and then you run it with that cache the next time, and you will have a speed up. They have seen a speed up of up to 42% in some cases of the actual startup of the Java application. So it's a really nice thing, and I really want to check this out later on. Next up, we have JEP 515, and this is just an extension of this. So they created the earlier one where you recorded this, and then you add to that the method profiling, which will make this ahead of time startup time even faster. So they are just adding more information into that already cached file, so you will get an even faster startup. So I'm really excited about this version of Java 25, and I will try this out and see if I can get even faster startup. Next up, we have JEP 518, and this is again the Java flight recorder, and this is cooperative sampling. So they had a problem where they are sampling code in different threads, and they didn't get stable data out. So if you ran it multiple times, you could get differing results on the same application and the same kind of data that was handling. So they didn't really like that. So now they are looking for safe points when they actually can record data and then store that data at those safe times, and then you will get a more stable recording and better sampling of your data. So it's a good addition to this JFR. So this is one more thing that they are adding to this. Next up, we have compact headers. And this was an experimental feature in earlier Java. And they have found that this could actually be a benefit for some use cases. So when you have objects stored in the heap, of course, they take up space. And the headers had a lot of extra information that wasn't really needed. So in that case, for object, when you store a lot of objects, you could have a good benefit of having compact headers. So they have tried that at Amazon and run it with a great success. And now it's not an experimental feature anymore. So you can just say XX, use compact headers. And for some benchmarks, they said so 22% less heap space and 8% less CPU. And in another garbage collection was reduced by 15%. And in a highly parallel Java parser benchmarks, they said 10% less time. So it's a very good thing for some use cases. In some other use cases where you have very complex objects, this might not be the perfect fit for you. But when you are parsing a lot of data and have a lot of small objects, then compact object headers could be a good option for you. Next up, you have the 520 JFR method and timing tracing. So this was a very large JEP. There was a lot of things in it. So if you want to use this Java Flight Recorder for method time and tracing, you should read that because there were a lot of good different commands that you could run and get a lot of good information. So I'm not going to talk more about that. Look into it if you want to use this feature. And last but not least, we have the generational Genoa garbage collector. It's no longer experimental. It's a part of this release. And if you need it and know that you want it, then it's available now. It's stable. They have run a lot of tests on it. And it's something that will reduce memory, have less CPU during the timing. Of course, they want low latency as well, but in this case, it was more something that was focused on CPU time, CPU usage, and memory footprint. So this was what I wanted to cover today. I hope that you found this interesting. I hope that you learned something today. If you like this video, give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave those in the comment section down below. And I really hope to see you in the next video.